Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 show to bring you all things Club America in English. Your hosts for today, Ivan Pineda, Christian Rosendo, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Let's start the show.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Eagle Eye Podcast. I know, second time this week in a row, we're going to be talking to you guys all things Aguilas del America. We're going to be recapping that wonderful win for America in regards to points against Mazatlan, and then we're going to be talking all things Lady Aguilas, and then we're going to be recapping everything. We're going to be previewing everything in regards to the Puebla match. So, as always, let me introduce my co-host, Brooklyn's very own AJ, and New York's favorite resident, Christian Rosendo. Gentlemen, how are we?
Who goes first this time? Is it me or are you?
Well, he did say your name first, so I'm guessing you would go first.
Chronological order here.
Come on, AJ. Here we go, man. You know what? Can we just start the show over again?
We'll just restart it.
I'm good, though. I'm doing good. Thank you, Evan. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. You're the only one who asked me how I'm doing. Sometimes Christian will ask me. Sometimes Christian will ask me.
No, never mind. I'm not gonna ask you this time, but I'm doing good. After getting off this very stressful accounting class, and I'm just excited to talk everything America. There's a lot of things I need to say, get off my chest. I've been very active on Twitter. For anyone that doesn't follow me, I think it'd be a very good idea to follow me. I was taking on the whole world yesterday, and for very good reason. But I think we'll get into that a little bit more later.
You definitely will, and I do want to pick your brain because I think you do bring up some pretty good points, but I think some of the stuff that other people are rebuttaling with, I think also has to be put out to light. And
no, Brian,
see what you have to, you know, what of course, Brian, a friend of ours, great friend of the podcast, Brian. I think he does merit some stuff that he says, and I do agree with him in that aspect. And I know AJ and him are very close to that in regards, but we will get into that a little bit later, and you know. We won't drag on this any further. So good to have you both on. Unfortunately, our beloved cowboy is stuck in traffic. That's what you get when you ride a horse back from work. So hopefully he's able to make it back in time, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, gentlemen, are we ready to talk all things Aguilas del America?
Yeah, but this lighting is killing me. I need a new setup, honestly. I feel like I'm so glossy in the front, and it's making me uncomfortable.
Yep. I mean, look. You're the accountant guy, all right? You got to make that. You got to put some of that budget towards the lighting.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know what? It'll get fixed for next week. I'm sorry, guys.
Let's go.
All righty then. Well, let's start off with that game that happened on Wednesday, gentlemen. America versus Mazatlan. America ends up winning 3-1 in, I wouldn't say the most convincing fashion of ways. Although again, 3 points are very, very good 3 points at this point of the season, when you know you definitely need to accumulate as much as possible, because like we mentioned, this week for these upcoming week, these games for America are going to be very, very important, because then of course you have the 3 clásicos right back to back, and then you have, you know, Tigres and all that stuff. So got to focus on these upcoming games ahead. So this game against Mazatlan was very, very crucial, very important to get all 3 points. AJ, I'm gonna throw it to you first. How did you feel coming into this game? Because we mentioned on Tuesday's podcast, you know, we're a bit hesitant of what America side we're going to get. And we knew that the back 5, whilst it did give us some kind of good fortune in getting us those 3 points against San Luis, wasn't looking like it was the most solid going forward. So tell me more about how you were coming into this one and how you came out of it, knowing that America ended up winning 3-1.
So like I said last time, I said that Mazatlan were coming into this game struggling as well. America, though we picked up a win, we're still trying to bounce back from the previous 2 games that we had, in which, you know, we've conceded 7 goals. But in coming into this game, I was feeling confident, especially with the same lineup. Bioho mentioned he was going to put the same players up with the same formation, no changes at all. So I was just happy on that part. So I'm just like, okay, this will be fine. Despite playing 5 in the back, there were some moments here and there where Mazatlan were going in and trying to get themselves a goal. That didn't happen though until in the second half. Same thing for America. We weren't really doing much in the first half, which we talked about last time on the podcast. I'm like, it feels like it's a difference between 2 different halves. In one half, America could be great, and the other half, they're not, vice versa. So it seemed like in the second half, they just seemed to pick things off. Starting with that Henry Martin goal, the crazy own goal by Mazatlan's Aldo Rocha, and then that amazing free kick from Richard Sanchez. But despite us playing five in the back, we did happen to concede a goal by Mazatlan's Camilo Sanveso, and it just like made me scratch my head. We're playing five in the back, but we're still conceding goals somehow. But at the end of the day, though, we picked up the 3 points, so
I think you put it perfectly, right? It's a tale of two halves. Same narrative that America continues to have throughout this season. Christian, I'm throwing it to you now because I know you've been waiting for it. But like we just mentioned, a tale of two halves. And I think one of the reasons why you were very frustrated with this back five is because in the first 45 minutes, we saw no creativity going forward. We really saw actually nothing from America. If I'm being honest, Mazatlan were dominating possession. We just kind of looked like we were ready to just get something on the counterattack. And really, like I mentioned to AJ and Dylan on Tuesday's episode, this wasn't a game for us to kind of play Cordoba and Camero and two center defensive mids, which I think he ended up changing. It was more kind of a flat back three center mid formation for that 5-3-2. But I felt like this game was a little bit more for, like you mentioned, Sergio Diaz, a player that's explosive, someone that can chase the game, bring the game to Mazatlan, take on players, be a little bit more explosive. So talk to me a little bit more about that first 45 minutes and talk to me about just in general this game, because I know you didn't have problems with this 5-3-2.
Yeah, so just overall in this game, I think anyone could tell you that we didn't play well, and whether it's a tribute to the back in the five or not, this is a game where we shouldn't have had that performance. This was a Mazatlan team with, I think they were in the top three worst defensive teams in the whole league coming into this game, and like you said, Ivan, this was not a game for a back five or more of a passive approach to this game. I think with the likes of Cordoba being in a more camp position, Sergio Diaz with the explosiveness, Roger Martinez, sometimes I think he could have had a good impact if he started in this game. I think it could have posed for a different outcome. While the 3-1 is definitely not a bad result, and when you look at a 3-1, you would think that America was the clear dominant in this match. Unfortunately, it wasn't like that though. In both halves, Mazatlan had over 60% possession, and that just tells you that we had no control of the midfield. They kind of had their way with the ball, and like you said, Ivan, just throughout the whole game, we really didn't have any creativity going forward. Now, Piojo tries to make some subs to kind of adjust to that, but you're playing players out of position, which in turn don't give you any end effect as well. So this five in the back formation really limits the squad even more, because you have so many players that don't fit this formation, and then when you try to implement them, you're not going to get a good return because, well, that's not their position. I understand they're professional football players and they should try to adapt to the situation, but granted though, you can't always expect that, and especially against this team, you should be going full on attack. Honestly, this should have been a blowout, probably 6-0 with the players that we have. This probably could have gone for more, but I understand why everyone wants the five in the back. I think it provides more of a defensive stability. I think coming into this game, we've only conceded 2 goals. I mean, the previous two we conceded 7. So in turn, we're getting better defensive results, but we're still not playing like the way we should be playing against teams like this. No disrespect to San Luis and Mazatlan, but playing like this like in this style is not going to work for us against top tier teams, in my opinion. And you guys can go on and on, back and forth, but right now we were pretty outplayed by a Mazatlan team that's in 16th place. Now imagine when we go up against a Cruz Azul, a Tigres, or a León. If we keep playing like this, the same formation, same exact players, I don't know how it's going to go on, and it frightens me.
I think the fact that you mentioned, it's limiting some of these players, but I would argue that even any other formation, you're limiting the players as well, because your argument is to go back to a 4-2-3-1 formation, right?
In a way,
I don't see how we have the players for that.
I mean, right? Well, with this formation, if you want, we have essentially
this formation fits a majority of the players that we have.
I mean, you're limiting already Benedetti, Giovanni Dos Santos, Leo Suarez, Roger Martinez, Sergio Diaz in a sense. That's 5 crucial key players in the offensive side that can make a difference at any given moment. And this formation, you're forced to use Escobar, a player who really hasn't done pretty much anything since he got to America. Jorge Sanchez, who really hasn't found his rhythm. Also Gonzalez, who in turn has good games. Which granted, I am not really a big fan of him, but in this season he has been doing things quite well. So I'll give him that. But Sanchez wasn't the same as he was last season. You only have Cordova in there who can kind of do something, but then sometimes not really playing his position as as we would like him to. And then Henry and Venus up top, well, they're naturally there. So I mean, if it fits them better, I guess that's good for them. But for the rest of the squad, it just doesn't seem like a lot of choice because when there's time for substitutions, you put in players like Chucho Lopez and Emilio Sanchez. With granted, Emilio Sanchez is an up and coming prospect, which I think has a great future. But for right now, I don't think that's the answer to this problem that we have.
It sounds like more the problem with you is that we don't have the roster.
Because we don't, and that's exactly why we shouldn't be playing this formation.
But then I go back to kind of your argument that if we move to another formation, it's going to be the same thing. I don't really think you're limiting players like Gio, like Benedetti, like Roger, because we know Roger, whilst he has had a pretty decent season so far out on the wing, we know he likes to be up top. Gio and Benedetti would have a creative liberty to go and just be that cam the way that Cordoba has been, right? And I see Richard and I see Santi and also that can all play in that center mid or even center defensive mid spot. Some a little bit more creative than others, and I think that fits them fine. I don't even think you're limiting even a player like Sergio Diaz. We know, and you should know this, Christian. You followed him pretty well. You know that he's not just a winger. He can actually play up top as a striker, or he has the capability, and I'm pretty sure he would not be opposed to playing behind the strikers in more of that center forward, center attacking mid position. So I don't really think.
Let me ask you a question. If you're Piojo, who would you put up to on your next game? Your top two strikers, who would you go?
Simple. You put Viñas and Henry there.
Okay, so you're basically you're not really giving Sergio Diaz a chance. Okay, now let's go back to the midfield. Who would you put as your cam out of Benedetti, Giovanni Dos Santos, and Cordova?
Oh man, you're putting me in a tough one there because.
Oh well, yeah, wrong person to ask actually. That is a wrong person to ask.
Only because he's had more minutes and
Cordova. Okay, exactly.
Yeah, you put Cordova.
So you're not really giving people the opportunity to start. At least now with I guess 4-2-3-1, you have wingers that can actually play. Roger, for the most part of the season, has done a well enough job to merit a starting spot. Leo Suarez, when he was finally getting a rhythm, he got dropped to the bench because he doesn't fit this formation. Now you have Cordova, who was doing well in the cam position. I think AJ can agree with me here that I think we love seeing him in that cam role. You have him there who he was excelling, and that's his position. That's where he wants to play. Now Benedetti's back, and now I would think that Benedetti would like a crack at that position because I think he'd do a stellar job there. And I think it would just fit everybody well. Only problem with that formation that I'm posing is you would most likely either eliminate Richard also or Santi, one of the three. But in turn, you can probably put two CDMs, and then it could solve some of your defensive problems. When trying to cover the gaps, because even in this game with the formation of a back five, there were still gaps in the middle. There were still gaps in the line in the back five and the midfield of three. There were still gaps. Can you please explain to me why there were still gaps when we technically had 6 defenders?
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, Ochoa had to have himself win another type of those games, right?
But on side note, it's a very great performance by Ochoa. I think he had 2 or 3 key saves that could have swung the match in either way. So I think Ochoa definitely deserves some merit in this gap.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right to bring up the concerns because I have him as well, right? Because in the back five, and I think AJ has him as well. You mentioned it in his initial report is the fact that how do you concede a goal the way that you did, and how do you keep leaving spaces? Your goalkeeper should have not had to have worked as hard as he did against a team like Mazatlan.
No disrespect.
Exactly, no disrespect at all. But there's levels, there's tiers to what the expectation is for this game, and the fact that there is. I don't have the answer because I can't sit here and tell you that I know exactly what these players are going through, but I think it's a transitional phase. And I think that's what a person like Brian would argue with you as well, is that it's a transitional phase because these players aren't used to playing with a 3-back center-back partnership, right? Aguilera by no means necessary has he ever had to be the leader of that back line.
And now you're asking him to be the leader knowing what we know of him.
But because, again, due to the unfortunate circumstances that is Bruno Valdez's injury. Correct. Unless you're going to bring in someone that's a leader in a center back role, which I think America's not bringing anyone else.
We know this. I mean, we'll get out a little bit later, but knowing what you just said, wouldn't it help to have at least a little bit more help, a little bit in front of you if you had also and Santi in front of you as CDMs?
You had also, which I think he did an okay job, not his best night in an American.
Not his best night, no. But I mean, I'm not gonna discredit, because either, like I said before, I'm not really a big also fan. But throughout the season, though, I think every time he's got the opportunity to play, I think he has given us results. So for this game only, I'll let him slide for a little bit. But those gaps, though, they need to be fixed.
And I think it's that thing. It's that transitional phase, because it's a two different 5-3-2 formation when you look at the game against San Luis and you look at the game in Mazatlan, right? It's in the game against San Luis, we had Cordoba as a cam, and then you had the two center mids, right, between Oso and Richard. And then you have this 5-3-2 formation against Mazatlan, where it's more of a flatter center mid partnership. You have Cordoba on the left, also in the middle, and Richard on the right, which I told you that's what preferably I wanted, because
that's what you wanted. But you're still playing players out of position again.
Yes and no. Because yes,
you're not really letting Cordoba shine, right?
You can make the argument that he was trying to do his best to shine.
He was trying to do his best to shine, but you're not putting him in the best position to shine. Which is what I'm trying to argue right now, that most of these players, you're not putting them in a position to shine, even when they sub in. When Benedetti was subbed in, he was played more on the left.
I didn't even know he was in.
Exactly. I didn't even know he was playing until half the time, until I heard they didn't have to say his name.
Because I think that's more of a Benedetti problem than it is a
formation problem. And now you put
problem.
Roger up top, who he hasn't played up top in over how many matches?
I think the last time I remember him playing as a forward was probably like during preseason when he actually first arrived. I remember him playing as a forward. So
I don't think that's a problem for Roger, though. He naturally just gravitates towards the middle whenever he does play sometimes. So I don't see that as a problem.
So I mean, if you want to go with the flatter three, I mean, it can work, but we need the three center mids. You know, I'd argue that also Santi should be there, but then you need two other center mids. Who can it be besides Richard?
Richard for sure has to start.
Then you think you probably argue this would be a game probably for Giovanni Dos Santos, or that would be a position for Giovanni Dos Santos, but he hasn't been a starter all year. He hasn't played a game all year.
No, he hasn't even come off the bench.
He hasn't come off the bench. Yeah, and then you're bringing Emilio Sanchez up there. I mean, really without much first team experience, and you're asking him to play a big role. So once again, it just goes back to my I guess point that I guess you're trying to argue that we just don't have the players for this formation. If we had different players, and now you're telling me about three true CDMs, three true like well experienced center backs, two wing backs that can actually create something, because we know Escobosa really hasn't been doing much except for that one pass he had to Henry Martin in the San Luis game. He really hasn't been doing much. Let's be honest here. And then Jorge Sanchez, you know what? He hasn't been the same Jorge Sanchez, let's be honest. So, it's just for right now, it just doesn't seem like a good formation for us. But I'll give everyone that's listening this. If we play this formation against a good team, against, a Cruz Azul or a León or Tigres, any top tier team, and we come out and give a great match, I'll accept the formation. That's fine. But until then, until we prove that this formation can work against top tier team, I'm not buying a single moment of it.
Well, I think that's because I think at this point, and America is very poised in the opportunity that has fallen upon them to be able to switch a formation kind of midway through your season and be able to have games in which you're able to maybe have these players adapt more without really having the pressure of having, like you mentioned, these top tier teams in Liga MX. Then I think it's going to pay to the benefit of America, right? We didn't have the best game against Atlético San Luis. We didn't have the best game against Mazatlan. And who's to say that we're going to have a good game against Puebla or even against Toluca? But if America ends up walking away with all 6 points in the next two games, and then you're going up against Chivas and you play that back five formation and you end up blowing the competition out of the water, then I think it's paid dividends. I think at this point,
not against Chivas.
It's 2 games in. It's still because I think in the Clásico, it's a whole different story. I don't think you have to look at form. Well, I mean, but at that point, you have to talk about the X factor that is a Clásico, right? And we're not gonna get into it because we have a whole lot of stuff planned for the Clásico. But what I'm thinking here is that Piojo finds his groove in regards to this formation. It works for him. Players adapt more. Players understand more of what their roles are. whether it's starting, coming off the bench, how explosive they need to be. I think it's just trying to put the puzzle pieces exactly where they have to go. Piojo even said it himself. He's like, I'm content that we were able to win the match, but I'm not happy with the way that we played. He even said it. We didn't have the ball. We need to have more of the ball. He said it. He's like, some players weren't showing what they needed to show. So he understands. It's not like he's sitting there and he's like, well, great, I won 3-1 against Mazatlan. This formation must be working. Nothing else to fix. I think he sees that there's an underlying issue in regards to performance out there. But as long as he gets those 3 points, as long as he continues to go, I say this. Give it until the Toluca game, right? Give it until the Toluca game, and then we can talk whether or not this formation is working or not. Because I think two games in, you can't.
We have Chivas, then we have Cruz Azul, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you at that Cruz Azul game. We'll see what happens at that Cruz Azul game. Because I think that's the first top.
That's gonna be your first real test.
That's to be your first real, and then even that I'm giving you San Luis, Mazatlan, Toluca, Puebla, and Chivas. That's 5 games. 5 games to get this formation. You think America can do it in 5 games?
I would hope so.
Okay, well, let's go. 5 games. Yes. I'll give you guys 5 games to try it out. Let me see more improvements of this back 5. Brian, I'm talking to you. Let me see more improvements of this back 5. And then at that Cruz Azul game, if this team somehow manages to blow me out of the water with this formation, and we happen to win in a good way, playing
he
this
will
formation,
shave his hair.
I will accept it, and I will admit I was wrong about this formation.
Okay. Understandable. I mean, I just think it's a process. I don't know, AJ. Me and Christian been going back and forth. Really, what's your input?
I'm going off. Okay, AJ, you're up. Let's go, baby. Come on.
No, like we're in the phase where we're trying to really figure out what we can do because, like, to concede 7 goals against 2 teams in which they have struggled so far in the league, that's a huge red. Huge red flag.
I would make the argument that Querétaro isn't struggling anymore, are they?
Before, yes, they were. But after what they did to us, okay, yeah, no. They actually, I think, happened to, like, destroy Toluca today as well. So there's something now. Before they were starting Monterrey, they were a side that haven't picked up any kind of wins. Surprised, like, their big guys really haven't, like, showed up. And because of, like, the errors you were constantly making with the formation you had, which was, like, what, the 4-2-3-1 that we usually go with, that was just sliding in goals left and right for us. I'm just, like, if we continue with this formation, we're going to concede a goal every single match, no doubt about it. I would not even be confident to the point where I could say get a 3-0 win. I'll have to start saying 3-1 or something, or 2-1, 1-1. So 5-3-2, Piojo knows this formation. He used it before with his championship side. Does that mean we're going to necessarily win the league? Who knows? Only time will tell. But if he is confident with knowing the formation, he will use it. He's not going to use some kind of formation that he has never experienced with, like, example, I don't know, maybe 4-3-3 or just something where it's just like, why? Why are we putting, like, the players into this kind of position? Though we can then say that about the 5-3-2, we're limiting some of, like, the explosive players we have on our bench, and they really cannot get the start because of this formation. But it's just what Piojo's saying, like, I'm gonna use these players because I feel these will be the best players we can use to fit into this formation. Yes, I know we have, like, amazing, like, bench players who are of starting caliber.
Our bench is better than our starters.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I was looking at this,
and I
was like, wow.
Can anyone agree with me that our bench was better than our starters?
I mean, I wouldn't say.
Well, some of the players
on paper, yes. On paper, yes. On form wise,
I give it to you though, but it's like some of the bench, I was like, wow, that's actually like a nice bench. It's a nice bench that we got. Wow, we're stacked.
But it's a nice. But how nice is it if when it's time for them to come into the game, only 20% of them can actually fit in this formation, and the others just kind of have to adapt and wing it.
That's the thing with formations, like. Yes, 5-3-2 is really defensive. I said it before. I don't care we win a game. Every single game with just 1 or 2 goals scored. I will take that. A win's a win. If it can get us to go into the Liguilla and then win the championship, I'm happy with that.
Well, right now we're tied at first. Not tied at first, or we're second?
I think we're at second currently.
Yeah, because Cruz hasn't played yet. Well, no, we'll tie with first, but Cruz hasn't played yet.
Mm-hmm. But okay. It's the thing where I'm just kind of like, it's really defensive oriented. We're gonna play boring football, but it gets us like the W. I mean, can you really complain? I understand it's a team like America where it's like, yeah, really big team, they're going to be explosive. We're going to score goals left and right. But we need to resort to a formation like that simply because we cannot afford to concede that many goals in the span of 2 matches. Remember when it's not to the format, but remember we had Hugo Gonzalez starting when Moises Munoz left. He was conceding goals left and right, but eventually he got himself accustomed and he managed to become a good goalie for this team. So now in this case with the 5-3-2, yeah, it's 2 games so far, but like you said, we have the upcoming game. We got Puebla, we got Toluca, then we got the upcoming 3 clásicos. Those are going to be the games to see, is this the formation we're going to completely stick with for the rest of the season, which I would hope so, because if we need to make another formation change, that's why I'm going to truly start worrying the most.
Okay, so now let me ask you this. God forbid, because there's a few things I hate in life, and this is definitely one of them.
Taxes is another one.
Yeah, taxes too, but we're just not getting into taxes because I'm drained out anyway. Yeah. Knocking on wood. And I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth. But if we happen to lose to Chivas, what do you say after that then?
I think then that's when you start really, really twisting Piojo's arm if you're the board.
It's hard because...
Okay, no, go AJ, because I'll follow up after you.
It's hard because it's like, yes, they're our biggest rivals, but then upcoming we didn't also have Cruz Azul and Pumas. Do we not want to consider those guys as well, where it's like, that's nothing, we can still use their formation? I know it's Chivas, that's our biggest rival right there. It's a thing I want to consider, by then it'll be, 5 games in using into this formation. They beat us bad before in the Copa GMP por Mexico, so that was really rough. So it's the case, it's our second time. Now we're going to use a different formation and see how this will go with. But I feel like in this case, if we do lose into a second time, God forbid, we concede 3, 4, 5 goals. And with this formation with 5 defenders, that's where I'll truly lose it. I'm just I
think at that point you would just have to throw away the players.
It's got to be the case. I know, I mentioned before in the last podcast, with this defenders, I feel they're more offensive in a way than defensive, despite them being defenders. Because we see how Emma can be sometimes. He will go out of his box to try to participate in whatever's going on. Garces can get really aggressive at times with his tackles, but he doesn't get the fouls. Ramon Juarez, when we see him this playing, we have seen he's able to tackle and slide kind of in a way to me Sebastian Cáceres. So it's the thing where it's just kind of they're going to have to start realizing we're playing fine at the back. You need to be defensive, because if you get way too aggressive or go too far out, you're going to see there's going to be a forward or a winger, whoever's going to be up front for the opposition, just go up, and it's all one-on-one on Ochoa, and hoping Ochoa can save it. If we concede it, it's we're blaming the defense. You can't blame Ochoa on that part when he has no help from his defense. So in the case he can get mad, or he's just going to be lost or worse because he's looking defense what are you doing? So it's just...
Let me raise another question. This is, I guess, to both of you guys. And there's a back 5. Who is the weakest link in this back 5?
Right now, it's difficult because you can make an argument for all of them. Maybe not so much for Cáceres, because I think he's maybe been a little bit more stable, but obviously we know Aguilera is one string away from being completely unreliable. Juarez, I think he's showcasing some good stuff, but again, I think it's that raw factor. Yes,
yeah.
He put very, very hot take last episode that he was the next Paulo Maldini.
Of course.
And you still have that raw factor with him. The fact that he's still extremely young. He's barely 3rd game in Liga MX. So I feel like some people are definitely going to target him, which is why I think you saw Ochoa really trying to. I wouldn't say cheer him up, but he was really trying to get him riled up. Kind of get his pump him up in a sense. And whenever he did a good job, he always go to him or clap him and tell him good stuff. I think he understands it. He's been there in that position before. He knows what it's like to be a young player in this team. So I think he knows, and he's trying to, get him riled up in that sense. So right now, I think that weakest link is in the air between Aguilera and Ramon Juarez. I'm leaning a little bit towards more Aguilera, which I think is a huge, huge problem because, like I mentioned, he is kind of the leader of that back line.
Let's go outside. I mean, AJ?
To be honest, like as much as like I do like Ramon Juarez, like I feel like he could be a weak link, but then to like argue against that, he's just starting. Like we really don't have we don't have Hera Ortega because we loan him out to Toluca, so there's that. He's gone. We're not really
gonna. A minute, right?
I'm pretty sure if he still hasn't played a minute yet, I would say if you want to like pay that money to recall him back, so you can have him like up if you don't really want Ramon Juarez. Hell, even Emmanuel Aguilera if you want him to start. Who knows? But and then there's Emmanuel Aguilera. The thing is, like, I've known him mostly now for his goal scoring abilities as a defender. Surprise, like with his like free kicks and penalties, he can do that. But it's defense is where like the problem really lies in the most. I remember people were just giving up with him completely. Last season we were playing against Cruz Azul. He was the last one to take the penalty. He essentially pretty much could have tied the game right up. It got saved by Jesus Corona, and then everyone's like out with Emma. We don't want him more. It's like that's the last thing he had left that was good about, which was like his penalty kicks. And after he conceded, like lost that, it's like that is it. His defense really problems. Goal scoring abilities, yes, it's still good, but like there's like times where it's like we kind of don't even want to give him the free kick. It's like just give it to Richard Sanchez or to someone else instead. And then just him just being at times really offensive. In the case where he just really doesn't want to play defense, it's just like you can't do that. You're the leader of this entire defense. If you're the one that's constantly at fault for conceding our goals, everyone's gonna be like, so who we're gonna look to next? We're gonna look at Jorge. We're gonna look at Escobosa, Ramon Juarez, Cáceres. It's like I don't know. I want to say like for me, it's really Emmanuel Aguilera at this point. He needs to step up to the plate, knowing that that Bruno Valdez, his teammate, is not there anymore, who was the leader of that entire defense. He's like, it's my time to step up. I played with him a lot, so I know what he would expect me. Especially I know what to expect of him. So he should just use what Bruno Valdez does and actually add it into his game.
I'm surprised someone said Escobosa.
Well, because I think at this point you're saying they're part of the defense, but they're not really part of the defense. If that makes sense.
So Jorge's not part of the defense.
When I'm looking at a 5-3-2 formation and I'm looking at who our weakest link is, it's that trio, and I'm focusing my attention on them because if one of them goes, the whole thing falls apart, right? Whole thing falls apart because. This is also what the great thing about this 5-3-2 formation is. If one of your wingbacks gets caught off, then you have one of your center backs that can push into that left back position. Not necessarily saying they're going to play left back, but they can push into that position, cover that space. That other center back in the midfield pushes on into that space that is left, and now you have a little bit more divided space in between. So that's why when you mentioned to me who the weakest link in the defense is, for me, it focuses on in and around those three center back partnerships.
Now, someone explain that San Beso goal, please.
You gotta look at that poor marking from Chucho Lopez. Poor marking from there, and then defense gets caught ball watching. Literally, all three center. I think was it Cáceres who tries to put a foot on it?
I think it was Cáceres. Yeah,
it was.
But I mean, by that time too, he was just caught ball watching at the same time, But he at least he instinctively tries to put a foot out, unlike Juarez and Aguilera, who just again get caught ball watching the ball just ran through. Simple as that. But you're gonna concede goals. That's the thing, especially when you're transitioning.
Back five against Mazatlán.
Oh,
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You're gonna concede a goal in any formation.
Against Mazatlán, any formation, any other formation, I'll give it to you. But when you're essentially playing 6 defenders against Mazatlán. Come on.
That's what we said. This game was important. Look, I think what you're taking away from this, Christian, is that, and I think we spend more than enough time talking about this 5-3-2 formation.
Nah, I can go all night.
I know you can, but that's not what the show's about. At the end of the day, I think you're misinterpreting what me, Brian, and AJ are saying. We're not saying that all our problems are fixed. Like we're done. Like America found the gold, the holy grail. We're good. Doesn't matter. I don't think that's what we're trying to argue here. I think what we're trying to argue is like, yes, we like this formation. We see these players playing a good game in this formation, but we're not saying it's going to happen overnight. We're not saying this fixes it like just from. It's not a day to night situation with this. We know that there's going to be a transitional phase. We understand that we're going to have poor games like we just did against San Luis and Mazatlan, but we understand that for this to work, we need to see improvements. And I don't think me or AJ or even Brian, who's not even on the podcast, and I'm pretty sure he agrees with me in this, but we're not sitting here and saying, we're not holding it up to a pedestal and saying this is the end all of it. Yeah, we're sitting here, we're saying we like it. We like where this is going. We like where this is heading. So let's just keep going on it. It wasn't perfect. By no means necessary. It wasn't perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say I like the game. AJ's not going to sit there and say he liked the game. I'm pretty sure Brian's not going to sit there and say he liked the way America was playing. But it was a step in the right direction for us, is the way I'm seeing it. I don't know, AJ. Do you agree?
I mean, hey, 2 wins with this new formation so far. I mean, yes, it's against sides have not really been doing that great in the league so far, but it's showing signs of promise. Yeah, we conceded 2 goals with 5 in the back, which I mean, still mind-boggling. We're having 5 defenders, 6, whatever, and we still concede a goal. Even though I'm like, yes, with any formation, it is bound to happen. It depends where the players are being positioned at. But if you're expecting to play a formation where it's playing defensive, or park the bus, for example, like you see with Chelsea, you expect to not concede a goal. But when that happens, it's just it's a thing.
I think at this point you don't. And I know we brought up that comment from Chicken Little saying there were 6 players in just San Beso, and I know you shake your head acknowledging that, Christian. I saw you. Don't think you're sly. I saw it.
No, I hope you saw it.
But at that point, you don't. At that point, you don't blame the formation. You have to blame the players. Mm-hmm. And I'm not. And it's the same thing I'm going to, and I'm alluding to. It's that we know that this isn't perfect, and we know that the players have to be held accountable for this as well. But you can't put everything on the formation. You have to look at some of these players and say,
"True."
You have to step up to the plate as well. You have to go out there and play your game.
True. Now, let me ask you guys this, both of you, and I answer this honestly. From the San Luis game to the Mazatlan game, did you guys see any improvement? Or did you guys...
A little bit on the defense. A little bit on the defense, yes.
Or can you guys argue that we played a better game in San Luis than we did at the Azteca? Because I could definitely argue that.
Nah,
you can argue that.
It can't because as soon as we can see 5 minutes with that San Luis goal, I'm already thinking my head, oh, here we go again. I'm new thing, and it's oh, we just conceded. That's great.
But that's the thing I'm going back to again. At that point, you can't blame that formation. You have to blame the mark, and you have to blame the players.
Which was Viñas actually, and that's a couple of games now where I think I've seen Viñas miss his mark, which in then turn leads to a goal from the opposition.
Yeah, but look, the kid's young and he's a center attacking forward. He's not. He didn't grow up playing a defensive line, knowing how to play a high line, and then freaking heading the ball out. You got to give him some credit for actually at least stepping up into that. Right? He has to do better if he is going to be there. But look, we've spent enough time on this, and we're definitely going to keep spending more time on it throughout the season as it progresses, because I'm sure Christian's going to continue to tweet about it, and Brian's going to continue to subtweet you. It's going to be a fun turnaround, so make sure you guys follow them on Twitter.
I hope everyone proves me wrong. I really do. I think a lot of people are kind of saying that, I actually got a DM. I should show both of you a little bit later, but I actually got a DM saying, why are you praying for America to lose? Listen, guys, I'm probably the biggest America fan you'll ever meet in this state. It's just when I see and I know that there's a problem within my team, I am going to express my feelings about that problem. And I know I've gotten a lot of flack in the previous seasons when I had said hot takes, and then said hot takes actually turned into reality. So I'm not saying this is going to turn into reality, because I hope everyone proves me wrong, and I hope we
better not.
Who's to say that this 5-3-2 rides us into the championship? I hope so. That's fine. But for right now, I
really hope so, because I would love to clip this audio.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, do it. Yeah, do it. Yes, do it. I don't care. I don't care. It's just from game 1, San Luis, game 2, Mazatlan. In my opinion, there was no improvement. I think there was a little bit going downwards, and then you just and from my eye, you just don't have the players for this. Now, like I said again, I hope everyone proves me wrong. That's fine. It's just for right now in this moment, it's not convincing. But like Ivan said, though, I think we spend enough time We'll see against Puebla. We'll see against Toluca. We'll see against Chivas, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, this is definitely gonna be a recurring theme, and we'll try to not keep it as long of a segment. But hopefully, you guys have enjoyed a little back and forth there. Again, it's gonna continue throughout the scene as long as Piojo continues to play this formation. We'll have to wait and see. Like Christian mentioned, hopefully Piojo knows what he's doing in this situation, and hopefully he knows his players well enough to know that they are capable of playing this formation out. All right, gentlemen, we've talked enough about this. Let's just kind of move on into our next segment, because I think we're pretty much wrapped up the whole Mazatlan, or at least took all of the time of that Mazatlan recap there. Of course, America gets those 3 points again, like we just mentioned, puts us up in that top 3 position. I think, like we mentioned, second place right now for the meantime being. But America still in a very good fighting spot for those top 3 spots, and hopefully they can continue to do so. All right, gentlemen, let's move on into the next segment. And AJ, let's talk more about Lady Aguilas. Let's talk about and let's recap what happened against Necaxa. I was like, what game are we recapping here? So many games we've played throughout this week. Let's talk Necaxa. It feels like the ladies are the only ones that really listen to the podcast sometimes, because I asked for them to come out and completely blow the competition out of the water. They did so. And you asked for a formation change to then enable us to blow the team out of the water, and they did so. They went back to the 4-4-2. So let's talk about that great win that America just had today against Necaxa. So how did you see our ladies after that 6-1 performance?
That match was amazing. I cannot stress you how happy I was when I saw 4-4-2 on my screen. I'm like, I think Leo Guard just listened to me. He realized that this team needs to start scoring goals with the caliber of players that we have on this team. I'm seeing players that they're actually playing in the positions they're supposed to be playing, and I'm just really happy to just see that. Immediately, in the span of just 6 minutes, we happened to score 3 quick goals. Cassandra Cuevas scored a goal in the 20th, in 20 seconds, pretty much, which is the 3rd fastest goal scored in the history of the Liga MX on Femenil. And I think she also scored the fastest goal in America Femenil's history, which was surpassed against Morelia which she did against Morelia Femenil. Then we see Janae Gonzalez's very first goal in a Club America jersey, which made me so happy for her, receiving that pass from Montserrat Hernandez. Really great stuff. And then the pass from Monica Rodriguez to Montserrat Hernandez to then make it 3-0 in 6 minutes was just amazing. Then as the game just went out, it seemed like they were just scoring goals for fun. Everyone was getting a touch of the ball. Everyone was getting a shot on target. Like 37th minute, we got a penalty call. Daniela Espinosa nets it in to score her 49th goal with Club America, which now she ties it with Lucero Cuevas with being the all-time leading goal scorer in America Femenil. In the 42nd minute, we also saw a goal by Cassandra Cuevas in which she received from a corner kick from Montserrat Hernandez. And then in the second half, in the 52nd minute, Cassandra Cuevas scores her 3rd goal, in which she netted her hat-trick into this game. Though in the 66th minute, there was a defensive error with Celine Valera in which it seemed like she let Estefany Hernandez go right past her along JD Gutierrez and then score the goal. But all in all, a 6-1 victory, and it was a really great victory for America Femenil.
Ultimately, I think it has to be said that these ladies came out and completely dominated a game that was given to them in a sense. I don't think Necaxa really came out with much. And I think some of the commentators even mentioned it too. I think the most important thing about this game for America was actually being capable of winning the way that they did, because when an opposition gives you these chances, you can't take them for granted. And I think the ladies did very well. This game could have been completely different as well. Let's not kid ourselves, This game could have easily been 7, 8, 9 goals. I think the ladies just weren't as refined, or even after that 3-0 margin, they got a bit complacent. Those periods of time where they got comfortable, relaxed, which that's understandable, right? You're winning 3 goals and you're on the pitch, and you're just having a good time moving the ball around. It's not to say that this game was perfect. It's near to perfect. I don't like the way that we conceded. I think the defense, again, AJ switches off, makes a mistake, costs us a goal. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to look at next. So, Our beloved Cowboy has finally joined us. Looks like you're out of traffic. Great to see that you've made it. Tell me a little bit just about your initial thoughts after seeing that scoreline margin of America Family winning 6-1.
After seeing that scoreline, I just thought, what the hell did I miss? Because I do hate to admit I was working on a big project I've been working on for work, so I didn't really get a chance to listen to much of the game nor watch it. So I realized I missed a lot, and just kind of hearing AJ a little bit, I was trying to get on, talk about this game. It sounds like it was good. We saw a lot of good things. So I just hope that momentum is built up, and we still build towards it as we head into the next game.
Yeah, no, credit to AJ here because I think he alluded to this formation change actually paying dividends in the way that it did. And I think Cuellar might have seen it as well. Now, don't be too surprised if we still go back to a 4-3-3. I think we're more than capable of winning games like that. But I think against oppositions where Cuellar knows that there's going to be more of an opportunity to have an attacking threat, we might just go back to that 4-4-2 formation. But, again, I don't want to sit here and allude to the game that was perfect because while the scoreline may suggest that it is, I think there's still plenty of things to work on, AJ.
I'd honestly agree, but it's a really weak Necaxa side in which they have yet to get a win and they have yet to even score a goal throughout this entire season. Which
that's what frustrates me is they had not scored a goal at all, but then they walk in and because of the defense switching off, they score a goal. And the same thing happened against Tijuana. And I'm really picking at tooth and nails here because yes, it's a great scoreline, but I just feel like those moments in which the defense switches off, that for me is what concerns me the most.
It's really frustrating because I'm pretty sure that JD Thing did get upset because it's one of those things. It's how do we just concede a goal like that? Yeah, it was a defensive error, but at the same time, it just really just gets you upset because how we're letting teams that have yet to score a goal in the Liga MX Femenil and they just score on America, especially with the defenders that we do have. I honestly feel like we shouldn't concede more than a goal, and if anything, maybe this is me just being really cocky. We shouldn't really be conceding any kind of goals at all. You have someone like Jocelyn Celine Valera who could just swipe the ball away from you at any point, especially given with their height like Jocelyn. I'm pretty sure there's defenders and forwards just having to look up at her during a corner, and then you have your left backs like Jimena Rios, and you have your right backs like Monica Rodriguez who are just constantly going up, assisting their teammates, just passing it back and forth to their team. It's just, I feel like they really need to just not really, just make some minor improvements into the defense, just because it's I really don't want to see them concede silly goals like that. Against Xolos Femení, we can see in the 93rd minute, just when we thought everything is good, but that's the problem. You can't get so comfortable while you're just leading. It took us then at least another 31 minutes until we get our fourth goal. Not to say I'm upset by it, but it's one of those things if we could continue that goal scoring rhythm keep going, just don't stop. Just because we're winning 3-0 doesn't mean the game is over. We've seen games in past where the opposition happens to just flip the game around completely, or our teams decide to just relax too much, and then the other team just all of a sudden gets a couple goals back, or they're just getting way more shots than they're supposed to, and then it just makes the defense and the goalie worried.
Yeah, I think if you look back at every goal that America Femenil has conceded this season, they have been defensive mistakes, and they're not defensive mistakes that you want to see. Then they're defensive mistakes that shouldn't have even happened. Again, these are moments in which I think the defense is a little bit too relaxed. They make mistakes, and it's going to cost them. They're switched off at the moment, and I don't think you can give yourself that luxury. Like I've mentioned, I've wanted a clean sheet, just the same way that I was upholding the men's to keep a clean sheet against Mazatlan. It's the same way I was holding the ladies to hold a clean sheet against Necaxa, because again, no disrespect to Necaxa, but the worst team in Liga MX Femenil coming into this game, not winning anything, having no real rhythm, no real form, no goal scored at all, and then for them to come in and score the type of goal that they scored, it baffles me as to why there's these kind of lapses in concentration in the back line this season. Maybe it's because of the scoreline, maybe because they feel too comfortable, maybe because, like we mentioned, something in them is just making them too relaxed. But they have to be switched on the full 90 minutes. Christian, what's your take on the ladies and so far their recent form? That's 4 wins out of 4, putting them in 12 points. And after that great goal, that great match against Necaxa where they end up getting all those goals, looks like they're finally en route to that Lady Aguila team that we were looking at.
Of course, they're definitely better than watching the men. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much. I think I said it in our group chat. No, that it was like 5 minutes in, we were already up 3-0. I was thoroughly impressed, and not just because of the scoreline, just because I think that just like you guys have been alluding, saying all season. I think this America team slowly, surely, with every game passing, they're starting to find their rhythm. They're starting to find their groove. They're starting to find their play style, which I think can really help them when it comes time to play these tougher opponents. For right now, it's a great start to the season. We just got to keep improving on it and just hope that these lapses of concentration don't happen as often, because there's not just a problem for this season. This has been a problem for previous seasons as well. And in those previous seasons, those cost us, chances to go to the next run or even a chance, at the championship. So I think that's always been something in Cuellar's, I guess like faulty list that he needs to fix. It's happened with numerous squads, and hopefully as time goes on, he kind of adjusts and gets these players to focus for the full 90. Because like you guys said, no disrespect to the females over in Necaxa, but this is something that shouldn't be happening. Like you said, if a goal scored in that manner should not be happening against us. So definitely something to work on in that aspect. But I guess overall, it's still an A- in my book, and just to keep improving.
Yeah, an A-. I think that's a really good way of qualifying this match. So, I mean, look, again, we're being very nitpicky, at this point. But I think it's the fact that you're playing for America, the institution. You know that even a win is going to come with criticism, right? So I think at the fact that the ladies end up winning the game in the margins that they do, I think, hats off, congratulations, and let's continue the run of form. Now, of course, a lot of games being played in between this week, but the ladies do have quite the gap in between the next match, which is not going to be an easy one. They're going up against Leon, and our top leading goal scorer, which is Dani, is going up against the person who once held the title of most goals scored in an America jersey. So AJ, looking forward to that game, aren't you?
It's gonna be really exciting actually, just to see like two of the best goal scorers in the Liga MX Femenil playing against one another. And what makes it also really better, it's Lucero Carrasco's play against her former team. That's pretty much the same where she made her name into this league. So it's just gonna be really exciting just to see these two battle off against each other, especially with those two. They played together, so like they already have an idea to how each other are gonna play.
Yeah, no. So I mean, shout out to Dani for getting to that historic landmark. And I think I think we all can agree here that she's gonna break that record, and it's gonna be wonderful, right? It's gonna have our number 10 go in the history books as the all-time leading goal scorer for America Femenil. So shout out to Dani. Also shout out to Janae. She had herself her first career goal as a professional. The only reason why I think I'm bringing her name up specifically is because I think she's had quite the week, actually quite a couple of last 2 weeks, right? First, having to deal with this whole kind of having to deal with that cultural aspect of her being not accepted in Mexico as a true Mexican, and having to deal with that kind of adversity, which we talked upon, AJ, last week on the podcast, and then of course what she's done for her community in regards to the kids and for the return to school and everything that her and her family have done. Completely just amazing things. And then of course she comes in, gets to her first start this season, and then walks away with a goal. And I think she had a pretty good performance out there on the pitch as well. So shout out to Janae. Did a wonderful, amazing thing, and hopefully she can continue the good run of form. And Dylan, anything else to add on in these ladies?
No, I think you and AJ hit it spot on. I mean, I can't really say much more after my failure to watch the game due to work and my project I was working on. But no, like you said, some nitpicky stuff, obviously. But I think overall you look at it as a great win, regardless. Just looking to keep the momentum going against Leon.
Definitely. Well, we'll have you guys all up to date and covered for that Leon match next week. So make sure you guys tune in to our Lady Aguilas talk episode of the Eagle Eye podcast. Again, that's gonna be next week on Thursday, I believe. We'll definitely get that out for you guys. And AJ, when is the next game for the ladies? I know we mentioned it's 11 days away, but what day specifically is it?
It's gonna be played on September 14th, and it's gonna be 6 p.m. Eastern time here.
6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Central. And that game, if I'm not mistaken, is a road game, correct?
Yes, that is a road game.
All right. Well, the ladies are. Yep. Looks like the ladies are off to Guanajuato. So wish them the best of luck whenever they do have to travel over there. All right, gentlemen, let's move on into our final segment, which is America versus Puebla, or Puebla versus America, as the boys will be traveling over to the Estadio Cuauhtémoc. But beforehand, Christian, any real updates in regards to the transfer window or anything? Just anything quick.
Well, transfer window closes in 2 days on September 5th. Just real quick, Pio Herrera did say in numerous press conferences and interviews that they're not closed to the opportunity of bringing someone in. Whether someone comes in or not, it seems highly unrealistic right now due to there's really no rumors right now and no one really being targeted right now of high on the list. So don't really expect anyone else to be coming in. So I think we have our squad for the remainder of the season.
All righty. Well, don't discredit a last-minute signing. So I'm just
definitely not.
Here
Definitely
firsthand. Jadon Sancho to America. How do you feel about that, Dylan?
Can we afford his wages? Is my question.
No, we can't even put because we don't have room for him in the formation. So I'd rather him not come. We're just wasting talent. We're wasting talent here.
All right, well, Jadon Sancho, I think he would. If I was Jadon Sancho and I was offered a contract from America and I knew that I was going to be eating torta de tamal and bambazos for the remainder of my season, I think I would definitely lower my wages just by that.
Ooh, but hey, moves.
That's just me. Hopefully, Jadon, you're watching this. Which would be crazy if you are. But either way, let's move on. America versus Puebla. How are we coming into this game? Christian, I know we talked about it extensively, but I know you're a bit shaky coming into this game. Rightfully so, because, America hasn't showcased the best face coming into this matchup. But how do you think the Americanismo is all around coming into this game? Because Puebla is no easy team by any means necessary. You saw what they did last week against Toluca. I don't know. How are you coming into this one?
Well, for this season, Puebla has been a very interesting team, and I've had a privilege of actually watching a couple of their games with a good friend of mine. Puebla is very interesting. They're very scrappy. They fight till the end, and you can't lose concentration against this team because they are somewhat organized up front. You guys clearly saw what they did to Toluca in the past week. And that was definitely something that should be an eye opener to the whole league because this Puebla team is not should be taken lightly with. Now, having said that, what I need from America this game is just kind of have some sort of control in this game. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but somehow try to get that midfield to control the game. Try to get a little bit more creativity because there wasn't really any creativity in that Mazatlan game. If it has to rely on Cordova to be the man to do it, then let it be on him. I think I need to see a little bit more involvement on the offensive side from Escobosa and Jorge Sanchez, even though that's a little bit difficult because, when getting caught in transition, Ivan, like you mentioned, that's one of your cons with this formation. It can get a little bit scary if players don't track back. And with this Puebla team, though, it can get scary in transition. So definitely something to keep an eye out on that. But just in all, I guess in general, I just want to see improvement from this America team. I guess like you guys, into your guys' word, just try to see the players get a little bit more cemented into this formation. Just improving little by little. This is definitely going to be a better team than what they have had to play in the past two games. So this shouldn't be taken lightly, and this should be a good game.
Definitely. I mean, it's a road game, Dylan, and we've known that America has struggled on the road this season. I mean, granted, we've gotten a win at Pachuca, and we've gotten a win at Atlético San Luis. Those are two very close locations to Mexico City. Puebla is no exception. Puebla is literally, I would say, another hour or so away from Mexico City, just like kind of Pachuca and Atlético San Luis. Do you think this is a more favorable away match because of that? Because we've seen those long travels and they haven't done wonders for America.
Yeah, I think so. A little bit. The players won't feel the travel awareness so much. You won't see that fatigue a little bit more. This, like Christian said, this is a game where you got to stay sharp. So you can't really let the travel get to you. You got to stay on your mental, your A game 100% of the time because, you go back like you're talking about that Puebla game against Toluca. Toluca scored first, but then 11 minutes later, Puebla get the equalizer, and then they pretty much score consistently throughout the match up until the final whistle. And so you just can't be tired this game. You got to realize that you can't necessarily sleep on this Puebla team. And so that's just how I feel going into this game.
I think your call for concern is actually one that we should take into consideration, knowing how this America side tends to switch off from time to time as well. So you mentioned it, and Christian mentioned it. So yeah, of course, America's sharpness needs to be just at the level or even more so than the Puebla players, because we know, like Christian mentioned.
Oh, sorry, Ivan. I thought you were about to be finished. I was going to say, let's not forget that Puebla had a very good match against Pumas, and they also drew against Cruz Azul as well.
Yeah, so they're no stranger to playing against, these bigger rivals. And I think they're looking forward to this America game so they can, again, prove themselves in such a big stage. So should be an interesting one. So, Christian, give me the starting formation, or at least what you would assume Piojo is going to come out with on Tuesday next week.
Just rinse and repeat. I think that's classic Piojo. When something, I guess, works for him in his mind, he's gonna repeat it. So we'll just go over it again. Guillermo Ochoa in net. You have your back five of Escobosa, Cáceres, Aguilera, Juarez, and Jorge Sanchez. In the midfield, you have Sebastián Córdoba, also González, and Enrique Sanchez. And up top, you have Henry Martin and Federico Viñas.
Interesting. Sure. If the lineup repeats, I don't think it's the worst case scenario. I would like to see Santi slip into also spot. And I would like to see Fuentes play instead of Escobosa. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? It
could be a possibility. Fuentes is penciled in for this match, at least to start as on the bench. I think it's kind of the same thing with well, not really the same thing because Fuentes is already in Mexico, but I guess it's kind of more of a dive into the team and the play style and how they're gonna approach these next couple of games. I think it's the kind of question for Piojo is Fuentes. Should we just put Fuentes in right away, or should we kind of put him in on the bench and then ease him into around the 50-60 minute mark? So it's definitely a good question you posed because I think Fuentes could add a little bit of more of a offensive flair to America, something that Escobosa hasn't been really able to provide. So it would be interesting, but for right now, I just don't think that's likely. I don't know what the rest think.
Anyone else want to chip in on that?
Will Luis Fuentes gain the possible start in this one?
Yeah, over Escobosa.
I could see that he's played left back. He's spent a season with America knowing how it's like. Yeah, he'll be playing in a different formation, but it's the same exact position he's going to be playing as a left back. So I could see him play that if they decide for some reason just to give Escobosa a rest, or they could just put him up in the midfield because he's capable of playing as a midfielder too if he wanted to. Just maybe on the left hand side of the center mid position, but who knows? I wouldn't mind having Luis Fuentes, but I did like him playing during his time in America, and now that he's with us, I'd like to see him debut at that left back position again.
Left wing back. We'll see if Fuentes ends up getting the start or not. But either way, we'll kind of go with what Christian is saying formation wise. Now, Dylan, someone who I think is going to be in the hot seat. I'm not saying that he's in danger or anything, but I think someone that's going to have a lot of eyes on him is definitely going to be Henry Martin. We've just touched upon about, Federico Viñas and, him playing and all that stuff. Let's talk a little bit about Henry and his run of form, which continues to be the same as we've seen from him in the past recently, is that he's scoring, he's consistent, he's bagging in goals for America, he's being an attacking threat. What's your thought on Henry? Because I know you're quite fond of him.
I think he's just doing more than just bagging goals for this team. I think he's pretty much stepping up up top for this team too. Maybe in terms of winning the ball. You see Henry flexing every time he scores a goal, and I think that kind of means something to him whenever in terms of winning a ball back, maybe from the midfield, and then giving a pass, and then making his runs, try to get open in some space. I think he's just doing a little bit more than just scoring goals for myself. Me watching him, obviously he's giving a little bit more than Viñas. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far, and I hope really to see that continue going into this Puebla match.
You look at Henry and you just think something's changed from the Henry that first arrived at America, and granted so, right? I mean, you spend enough time at a club and at a position, you're obviously going to improve if your heart and determination is there. And I think that just showcases Henry's mentality coming into this. And I think, he was on Through the N today, and he was talking in regards to preparing for a matchup. And he said that he asks for videos of the rivals' defense and goalkeepers because he wants to study them, right? He even goes to mention that sometimes his wife gets mad at him that the night before he's up all night, watching and preparing himself, watching these videos and all that stuff. What kind of levels does that speak to you in regards to Henry and how he's coming and preparing himself, week in and week out for these matches?
No, to me personally, I think it says a lot. I mean, it's more than just being on the field. If you know what your rival is going to look like, you're going to study what players do, and you find those little things that they do. It's going to stick out to you eventually. And that goes for just watching film in general. I mean, if you're going to see how this back line plays, if you're going to see how this goalkeeper, positions himself whenever you put yourself in those situations that you see them get in, then you're going to know what to do at the end of the day. And, Henry, you see the physical aspects of Henry. He's a strong guy. He can win the ball back. But, just having that mental game, it steps up his level of play a whole lot if you're going to know what this backline's going to do whenever you're going to play them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to hear what Christian or AJ have to say in regards to Henry Martin.
I'll go first, I guess. I get to see the entire thing really with Henry because I remember when we first signed him, so many people criticized him because he really did not score much in Tijuana. I'm looking up some stats. He's played in total 94 games for Tijuana, only scoring 14 goals as a forward. And I think it was less at some points. To just think we're just trying to find someone that could finally bag double digits for an America, so which I know it's been ages since we actually had a forward who was able to bag double digits in the regular season. So there was a lot of criticism at first, but then later on, he started proving some of the fans wrong, and everyone's starting to really appreciate how he's putting his 110% into every single game. He wants to completely change something from the play that he was in Tijuana. It's I'm going to change completely because I'm not trying to have goal scoring draws or inconsistencies while I'm coming into a new team. If they sign me for a team like an America and they're we're giving you the starting spot, we're expecting a lot from you, Henry's definitely going to change himself. He's time for a complete makeover to who I am as a player and start getting myself accustomed into this new team that I'm going to be joining. So it's just really nice to see someone like Henry who is taking all this time that he has into improving his game. And to also just win the love of fans of wanting to be the starting striker for this team, and just from the love from America fans, everyone just saying that they want him to stay in this team, that he wears the jersey with pride, and he just puts it on. He just is ready to just play every single game, no matter how many minutes he is given, whether it could be from a minute to 90 minutes, he'll be giving his 110% every single game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Henry's definitely stepped it up. Christian, what's your take on Henry? Are we finally seeing the best Henry possible? Yeah, I know we've criticized him for being inconsistent, but I feel like this is a different Henry.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, we have quite the technical.
My mic's muted. Muted. My bad. Yeah, no, it was muted. I was whatever. Anyways. Ivan, you took the words right out of my mouth. That word inconsistent. Now, we know how talented Henry is. We know what he can bring to America when he's in form. Right now, he's in form. The question is now, can he continue it for, a span of 4, 5, or 6 games? Right now, he looks comfortable playing next to Viñas. I think even Viñas said that he likes playing with Henry. So I'm guessing he's just feeding off, their kind of chemistry that they have. But like we said, Ivan, it's just, can Henry be consistent? Because we've seen him getting these hot runs, scoring 1 goal a game, even netting a brace here and there. But then out of nowhere, he just dies off for a few games, and then that's when everyone starts. Oh, what happened to Henry? Oh, get Henry off the field. Oh, he doesn't deserve to be starting. So I think for Henry right now is to keep doing what he's doing and just keep being consistent, whether it be with an assist or a goal, but keep providing something that reflects on the scoreline. Because if you don't, that's when the critics are going to come out again.
You know what Henry Martin reminds me of? Maybe this could be a hot take, but that's all I say. He kind of reminds me of Olivier Giroud in a way. I know his time in Arsenal, he was a prolific goal scorer, just he was inconsistent at times. That's kind of like how I kind of see Henry in some kind of way. Like, they have the physicality, they're able to score goals for the team, but there's just like a month or so where they just cannot get like a groove going. But then when the groove gets going, they're just starting to score goals like left and right for their teams. It's just like you mentioned, Christian. Now the question is, can he continue this form? And I would really hope so, because we have seen Venus hasn't been scoring much at he hasn't really been feeling stuff. It's the thing. It's kind of like time for Henry to step up, because it seemed like the case when everyone was on the Maravinhas hype, which everyone still is on. But if that hype ever, God forbid, it stops at some point and he just cannot get anything going, we're going to be looking at Henry. It's like, can you score the goals for us? And if he can't, it's just like looking at our bench. It's like, who's going to do it for us? At this point, it's like you don't really want to like go to like a midfield who knows, like Benedetti or Royer, like a technically play as a forward and like go up. It's like when we had Mateus Uribe in America and he scored 8 goals as a midfielder, and it was like he just scored more than like our forward. It's like, what's going on here? Not that I'm complaining, but it's like the thing where it's like our forward should be the one scoring. You are playing the position of a forward where the whole purpose of you is to score goals for your team.
Funny you say that, though, because I think, well, Ivan kind of pointed out Henry. I think my player to watch is Viñas, because, like AJ just said, we're kind of also on this little hype train that Viñas has around him, that, he's supposed to be, this next goal scorer for America. He's supposed to be the one to be the top scorer after so many years for America. And for right now, he's not living up to his expectations that we put on him. Now, maybe for Piojo, he's just doing just fine. That's why he keeps starting. But for me, I have a feeling that maybe at some point people are going to start criticizing him a little bit more now, because he's not scoring. That's what he was brought to do. That's what he kind of portrayed himself to do last season, that he was some sort of this goal machine that right now is kind of losing a little bit of gas. So for me personally, I think that my man of the match to watch it's Federico Viñas, to see if he can step up, because like I reiterate again, we don't know if Henry's going to continue this form. And then when if he does drop off, and Viñas still isn't scoring, then I think that's what the problem AJ was going to, is who's going to score for us.
Yeah, I mean, these are all what ifs at the moment, right? So again, America could come out and completely blow Puebla out of the water, and both Henry and Viñas end up bagging the hat trick, and then we're sitting here next week talking about, a whole different story. So again, it's all up in the air until the game actually starts going. But you do bring up a really good point, Christian. I think Viñas is about 2 games away from being in the hot seat if he doesn't start scoring. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But I just kind of wanted to bring up the whole Henry thing, because I think he's having a pretty good form, and we just dropped a wallpaper in regards to him. So if you guys haven't checked that out, follow us over on Twitter at Eagle Eye Podcast. All right, gentlemen, talk to me about your guys' prediction, because we've kept this going long enough, and I don't want to keep these people up. I know tomorrow's Friday, so we're not completely to that 3-day weekend just yet. So AJ, give me your prediction for the game against Puebla.
As usual, I'm gonna go with this 3-0 win. I got myself with Henry Martin getting a brace.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm confident with 3-0. I'm gonna keep going with this. But yeah, I got a brace from Henry Martin. I expect seeing a goal from Federico Viñas.
Fair play to AJ, because he technically almost got the scoreline right against Mazatlan if we would have not conceded that goal. So
Yeah.
I mean, so fair play to AJ for being as optimistic as you remind me of a very young me when this first podcast started. I remember I was saying, a lot of 4-0s that just never came to fruition. Jesus, America. All right, Dylan, give me your prediction for the game against Puebla.
I'm going to go with the little controversy here, but I'm going to say a 2-2 draw.
A 2-2 draw. Okay, so this is goals flying left, right, and center here. Okay, so Age is saying 3 goals. Cowboy Dan saying 4 goals, 2 for each side. Christian, give me your prediction for Tuesday's match.
1-0 America.
1-0 America. And
Wrong. 2-1.
2-1. 2-1 America. Well, you took my prediction. I was going with a 1-0 before you said that. I don't see how America comes into the Estadio Cuauhtémoc and completely blows Puebla out of the water. Granted, it could happen, right? Anything's possible in football.
Just watch out for Santiago Ormeño. That's all I'm gonna say. He was a former America player from Fuerza Básicas. Never debuted, but look at him now. Ever since he's played in the E-Liga MX, he kind of made himself a name so far. He's got 4 goals, if I'm not mistaken, so far into the season. So that's a player we're gonna have to keep an eye on, like for Puebla, because if he exposes in the defense, it's gonna be a problem.
I will have to wait and see, but I don't know. I see America having a very scrappy game, and then Puebla having themselves a very scrappy game. You're just gonna lead to whoever scores a goal is gonna win the game, and that's how I see it. But I think it should be a good game in regards to seeing whether or not this formation can continue to improve. I know you're gonna keep a real close eye on that, Christian. So that should be fun to watch. But yeah, you guys can catch this game live on Tuesday at night, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. The game's going to be live on TUDN. So if you guys cannot watch the game for whatever reason, make sure you guys follow us over on Twitter. We'll be keeping you guys up to date minute by minute in regards to everything that happens in that matchup. All right, gentlemen, we've kind of reached the limit of what this podcast was supposed to go for. Speaking about that 5-3-2 formation for quite an excessive time. But anything else?
We went over the limit.
Yeah, there you go.
We didn't reach the limit because we went over.
There you go. See, look, it's been a long day. Gonna work overtime, and I'm just completely I'm tired. So, give me your guys' last takes before we kind of wrap it all up here.
I got just something for America Femeninos. So we heard that Jennifer Munoz did not play against Atletico San Luis last time, and then it turned out that the commentators said that she did suffer a tear in the leg, so it's gonna take some time for her to recover from that. And then with Ana Lozada, Cuellar reported that there's actually nothing wrong with her. It's just he simply just wanted to rotate players and is just using it as a precaution just to make sure that we don't risk one of our best defenders in America Femenil to get injured. And also, 16-year-old midfielder Renata Huerta actually made her debut for America Femenil today against Necaxa. 16 years old, and she got to play 10 minutes. So really proud of her for that, since she came from the academy.
There you go, 16-year-olds and already playing for America. Where were you guys at when you were 16 years old?
In high school.
Fractured my ankle, I think, on that 16 years old.
You know what? We're gonna have a sit down with you, Christian, because you got quite the story to tell. So one of these days, I'd love it for you to tell the world. But alrighty then, gentlemen. With nothing else in regards, shout out to a good friend of the podcast, Miss Jennifer Munoz. We wish you a speedy recovery. And if there is,
She's not my friend.
You all right then? Well, everyone here is your friend, Jen, except Christian apparently. So, take that however you want to take that. But
what do you do?
But all right, gentlemen, thank you again for coming out tonight. Thank you to everyone who came out and watched. Chicken Little, Louis, Chris. I know I'm missing a couple of more of you guys, but thank you so much for watching. Anyone listening to Spotify, iTunes, and or SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, wherever it is that you may listen to us, thank you so much for taking the time out. And then we'll be back on Wednesday. Yes, not Tuesday because America plays on Tuesday, but we'll be back on Wednesday to talk all things America versus Puebla, and we're going to be previewing that Toluca matchup as well. And then again, don't miss the Lady Aguilas podcast on Thursday. We'll be previewing the upcoming game against Leon. So plenty of America stuff to go on throughout the week. So make sure you guys follow us over on Twitter again and Instagram so we can keep you guys up to date. A lot of big things are coming, by the way, for this month of September. A lot of big things coming from our part in regards to what you guys can expect from us. So like I mentioned, keep an eye out on that because we got some pretty cool stuff headed your guys' way. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much again. Have yourselves a wonderful night. Stay safe. All of you guys watching and listening, stay safe. Wear your masks. And as always, que arriba la América. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.